Hi everyone, my name is Phoebe Odor. I'll be representing the AfriGEO Secretariat and presenting on our LDN activities. I'll skip on the bio since this has already been shared by the moderator. So basically, we're responding to SDG 15.3 that looks at combating desertification, and we're doing this in three ways. So one is to avoid degradation through addressing the drivers of degradation. Second is to reduce degradation through sustainable land management practices. And the last one is to reverse degradation where it has already occurred. So this through restoration activities or rehabilitation activities that basically will lead to recovery of ecosystems. We operate in three working groups. So there's the working group on capacity building that looks at strengthening the capacities at individual and institutional level. There is a working group on data quality standards that specifies minimum data requirements in terms of monitoring LDN. And lastly is the working group on data analytics that looks at tools that countries can be able to use in terms of measuring and monitoring LDN as well as making this information accessible. So we take into account that we are not operating in a vacuum. We already have ground receiving stations throughout Africa that is collecting information related to vegetation and also in terms of weather parameters. Again, also several countries and institutions have been working towards archiving different data sets. So whether this is done at national or global level are resources we can already start using. In terms of addressing the connection issues, through global partner GEANs, we have regional partners such as WACREN that is providing connection for different research institutions in the Western Africa region, the Eastern and Southern Africa region being supported by UbuntuNet and North Africa by ASREN. Again, also we take into account that right now we have cloud computing resources that have enabled very huge volumes of data to be processed very fast. In terms of who we are working with, through GMS and Africa, RCMRD has been supporting countries in the Horn of Africa by providing LDN services biannually. Again, through GEO-LDN initiative, we operate and represent Africa as part of the capacity building working group where Professor Amos Kaboba from the University of Energy in Ghana has been the co-lead. Again, also SANSA has been the AfriGEO-LDN co-lead in terms of supporting what needs to be priority and also what activity needs to be implemented. DSI has been very proactive in terms of providing necessary resources in terms of implementation. Again, also through the University of Free State, we have a current grant that is running for 6 months, and we are looking to collect information in terms of LDN tools that are existing and also priority needs that need to be addressed to support LDN. And lastly is to make connection with the end users who are going to be accessing this LDN data and using that to inform the decisions they make around restoration and also conservation. So currently, in terms of activities, I've talked about the existing grant. There's also the engagement with the working groups, both regionally and globally through the GEO-LDN. And through our colleague in the capacity building working group, we are looking at avenues of really enhancing regional capacity. So whether this is done through MOOCs for very specific tasks, and also through different degree programs at MSc and PhD levels. In terms of the challenges we are facing, there's the linkages at program level where we take into account that different stakeholders have conflicting interests based on their own interest, and matching this sometimes can be a bit of a challenge. There's also the disparity as far as data access and connectivity is, that we may not be able to resolve entirely, but we will continue to provide the resources where possible. In terms of policy action transformation, so how this LDN data is being utilized is something that really we would want to follow closely. And lastly, in terms of monitoring the LDN efforts that are being made. We also take into account that LDN is not, it's not an African problem, it's global. And there are many places where we can borrow learning lessons from other regions and see how we can be able to downscale some of the impactful innovations, tools, and approaches that they are using to address some of the challenges we're facing regionally. Lastly is the component of collaboration that we welcome to see how we can improve what we already have. Thank you.